Welcome to the Optima Method, the podcast for business owners, leaders, and teams who want more structure, less chaos, and operations that actually work. I'm Saskia, founder of Optima Operations Consulting, and I'm so glad you are tuning in here today with me. Here we focus on practical systems, clear processes, and sustainable operations without the corporate rigidity and without the overwhelm. Because at the end of the day, everything I teach comes back to one belief: structure creates freedom. And today's episode is most important because I want to clarify something that changes how you hear everything else I teach. The Optima Method is not just about building systems, it's about building the right systems at the right stage for your business. And depending on where you are, the work looks different. So today we're going to talk about two paths inside the Optima Method. I know, two paths, very easy. One, on how it applies to startups, and two, how it applies to established businesses. And finally, finding out how you know which one you're in. Because this might be the moment you realize you're not behind, you're just in a different stage. So let's start this conversation, let's dig in, and let's figure out where you belong. So, why does one framework have two angles? Well, one of the biggest mistakes I see in business advice is that it assumes everyone is at the same stage. But a founder just starting out does not need the same operational strategy as a 10-person team that has been operating for 5 years or more. And when we apply the wrong type of structure to the wrong stage, it either feels overwhelming or it feels irrelevant. Now, the Optima method has always been three phases: create, optimize, operationalize. But what changes is the entry point. Some of you are building from ground zero, and some of you are rebuilding from friction. Both are valid, both require structure, but they require different starting questions. So let's start with the first path. For founders and startups, if you're in the early stage, maybe it's just you, maybe you just launched, maybe you have ideas everywhere, but nothing documented. This path is about building intentionally before chaos multiplies. So the first phase to talk through is create. In this stage, you're not auditing anything. We're designing. We're asking ourselves, what is the purpose of this business or task? What services are we actually offering? What does the client journey look like? What tools are necessary and not trendy? What does my folder structure look like? I know it can be as simple as that. And yes, even in month one, you want to ask yourself these types of questions. Because if you don't build a place for your ideas to land, your brain becomes the filing cabinet and it's not sustainable. It's not enjoyable. This is where you build your SOPs. This is where you build your foundation. It's not going to be a 200-page manual, but it's going to end up being a document that defines the purpose, the scope, the roles, systems, process flows. Really, you're building clarity before you fix confusion. The second phase is optimize. So here's where most founders burn out. They add too many tools, too many offers, too many experiments. And I hope you're realizing that you just need to take a moment and slow down and take a moment to really figure out what you need to do. Because by slowing down and building those blocks, you're building the foundation. Optimization at the startup level means that you're simplifying your offer suite, reducing the manual work, creating the templates early so those can be reused, and then designing repeatable onboarding processes, eliminating that busy work. This is preventative structure, not reactive structure. And then finally, the third phase, which I know is going to be the most exciting part, the most exciting phase, it's operationalize. This is all about habits, even if it's just you, or even if you have a team of 2, 3, 4. You create those monthly review cycles where you're reviewing those standard operating procedures that you have put in place, seeing what needs to pivot and what needs to be fine-tuned, naming standards on your documentation, updating those SOPs, keeping track of the metrics, and seeing where you need to focus. So the growth doesn't create chaos. And then the startup result, when you follow all three of these phases, is that there will be clarity, confidence, controlled growth, so you don't outgrow yourself. So the second path is for established businesses or teams that have the framework. And if you've been operating for years, you have the revenue, you have the team, something still may feel messy. This path is different because you're not building from scratch, you're rebuilding from friction. The first phase is create. You're not creating. Here, create means audit, redefine. This is where you ask yourself what processes are under-documented or even undocumented. Where are the handoffs breaking or lacking? What roles are unclear? What lives in Slack instead of in documentation? And what hasn't been updated in years? You rebuild your master SOP, not because you didn't have one, it's because growth changed reality. And this phase restores that visibility. The second phase is optimize. This is where refinement happens, where we're eliminating inefficiencies. You remove that duplicate workflow, replace outdated tools, automate high volume manual tasks, and improve that cross team communication, and most of all, reduce that founder bottlenecks. Optimization here is about removing that operational drag, not adding more structure, just strengthening what already exists. And finally, phase three, again, this is probably the most exciting part, is operationalize. This is the difference between growth and scalable work. You stabilize and you scale. You implement governance. You implement KPIs, review cycles. You make sure that owners are assigned. You document changes. It's a cadence. You train, you document the training, you document everything that you've been doing so that way the structure now becomes the culture, not just the documentation, but you're really building that foundation and building up from that foundation. So now the established business result is refinement, resilience, and scalable stability. The growth stops breaking the business. So, one of the things I want to call out here, there are three phases no matter what stage you're in. And those three phases do need to be followed to be successful and to eliminate those pain points. So, now how do you know which path you're on, right? So, you need to ask yourself, are you building from ground zero or are you fixing what already exists? Are you overwhelmed because nothing is defined or because everything is outdated? Are you guessing or are you reacting? There's no wrong answer here. But clarity about your stage changes your strategy. And when you apply the right structure to the right stage, that's when confidence returns. You will feel empowered. So the Optima Method is not about perfection. It's about meeting your business where it is. It's finding those gaps and enhancing those processes. It's taking the time to be able to work through the kinks. Whether you're building from the ground up or refining what already exists, the work is the same at its core. You create, optimize, and operationalize. But the starting point matters. So if this episode helped you identify your stage, I want you to take one small step this week. Just one. Document one process, audit one workflow, simplify one system. Figure out in which stage you're in and work through the motions. Because structure does not have to be dramatic, it has to be intentional. If you're ready to go deeper, you'll find links in the show notes to the Optima Method resources, the templates and tools designed to help you put structure in place without the overwhelm. I'm here to help you. I'm here to build those building blocks with you. And if this episode resonated, share it with a business owner or leader who needs a little more clarity behind the scenes. And as always, structure creates freedom. I hope you learned something. I hope you have the passion and the drive to find that intentional cause of what you want to fix. And again, structure doesn't have to be dramatic, it's small steps. And those small steps will make a big difference.